The items sitting in your trash right now could be the difference between your family's surviving a crisis and being completely unprepared for one. Most people don't realize this. They toss things out every single day, not because they're reckless, but because modern life has quietly trained them to equate worn, outdated, or used with worthless. When shelves are full and deliveries arrive on schedule, that logic makes total sense. Why hold on to something old when a brand new replacement is just a click away? But here's the problem. That assumption only works inside a stable system. The moment supply chains buckle, store shelves sit empty, and purchasing power erodes, those so-called worthless items transform into something far more significant. What felt like clutter becomes currency. What felt like junk becomes a lifeline. Today we're walking through 15 specific items that the average household throws away without a second thought. Each one has the potential to become a critical survival resource if the economy takes a serious hit. And pay close attention when we get to number 8, because there's a very real chance you threw it away recently without ever knowing its actual value. Let's get into it, starting with number 1, glass jars and containers. Walk into any kitchen and you'll find a weekly ritual. Someone finishes a jar of pasta sauce or jam, gives it a rinse, and sends it straight to the recycling bin. It feels like the responsible move, but it's also quietly costing you a resource that could matter enormously in an emergency. Glass jars are durable, reusable, and remarkably versatile. Their tight seals keep air and moisture out, which makes them ideal for long-term storage of almost anything. Unlike plastic containers, glass doesn't absorb odors, doesn't leach chemicals over time, and can be cleaned thoroughly enough to use again and again. And because they're clear, you know exactly what's inside without having to open them. History makes the case for this clearly. During the Great Depression, families who had stockpiled glass jars for food preservation were able to can garden vegetables, store dry staples, and make it through brutal winters in ways that families without them simply couldn't manage. The jar wasn't a convenience, it was a survival tool. Think about what you can do with a solid collection of glass jars. You can store dry goods like rice, lentils, and dried beans in a way that keeps moisture and pests out. You can preserve seasonal produce through canning and fermentation. You can organize small non-food items like seeds, nails, matches, buttons, or basic medical supplies. And in a trade economy, sealed glass jars filled with preserved food become something other people will actively want. The action step here is straightforward. Clean every jar thoroughly once it's empty. Peel off the labels, keep the lids matched and stored with the jars. Set a target of somewhere between 50 and 100 jars in a range of sizes before you consider yourself genuinely prepared. Start now because these cost you nothing and take almost no effort to save. Now let's talk about number 2, old clothing and spare fabric. The moment a shirt rips or a pair of pants gets stained beyond what looks presentable, most people throw it out or donate it without thinking twice. Fashion cycles fast, and we've grown accustomed to replacing rather than reusing. But that habit carries a real cost in any scenario where replacement is difficult. Fabric is multi-purpose. An old cotton t-shirt can be cut into cleaning rags, wound into makeshift bandages, shredded into fire-starting tinder, or used as a basic water pre-filter. Thicker materials can provide insulation or serve as padding, and if you have someone in your household who knows how to sew, raw fabric becomes a genuine production material. You can repair damaged clothing, stitch together new items from scraps, or offer mending services in exchange for things you need. History validates this completely. During World War II, rationing was strict and new clothing was hard to come by. Families patched garments repeatedly until the fabric was beyond saving. After that, remaining scraps went into quilts, braided rugs, stuffed cushions, or simple utility rags. The idea that worn fabric had no value was simply not an option. In a prolonged economic crisis, new clothing becomes a luxury. What you have becomes what you work with. Having a sorted, labeled supply of fabric scraps, old shirts, worn jeans, torn sheets means you always have raw material on hand. Stop throwing worn clothing in the trash. Cut it into practical sections, sort it by material type, store it in labeled bins. The resource cost is zero, and the potential upside is significant. Number 3.
Batteries, including the ones that appear completely dead. Most people have a simple rule. When a battery stops working, it goes in the trash. That feels logical.
But it overlooks something important. Many batteries that can no longer power high-demand devices still carry a partial charge. That residual energy might not be enough to run a flashlight at full brightness, but it could be enough to power a wall clock, a small radio, or another low-draw device for weeks or even months. In a situation where battery replacements are unavailable or too expensive, that remaining charge is genuinely valuable. There's also a strategy called battery rotation that's worth implementing immediately. The principle is simple. Use your partially drained batteries in low-energy devices. Reserve your fresh batteries for high-demand tools like flashlights, emergency radios, and anything critical to your safety. This approach dramatically extends your overall supply without costing anything extra. If you're comfortable with basic electronics, there are even techniques for extracting residual energy from used disposable batteries by configuring them in series with certain devices. It requires care and some technical knowledge, but the concept is sound. Small amounts of remaining charge can still be put to work. Start separating your used batteries from your fresh ones today. Pick up an inexpensive battery tester and check each one before discarding. You'll likely be surprised by how many still have usable charge. And even if a battery is genuinely depleted, consider holding on to it for the metals and components it contains, which have value in certain DIY and repurposing applications. During the economic collapse in Venezuela, reports described people scavenging batteries from broken electronics just to keep essential devices running. That's not an extreme scenario reserved for distant places. It's a warning about what happens when preparation isn't prioritized. Number 4. Cardboard and packing materials. The routine is familiar. An order arrives, you pull out whatever was inside, break down the box, and send everything to the recycling bin. It feels efficient and responsible, but you might be discarding something with more practical value than you realize. Cardboard has several underappreciated uses. It works as insulation, particularly when layered. It catches fire readily, making it useful as tinder or kindling. It can be shaped into temporary windbreaks or moisture barriers. And if you're ever in a situation where you need to sleep in an unheated space, layered cardboard between your body and a cold floor can make a measurable difference in how well you retain heat. Bubble wrap and foam packing inserts offer similar versatility. They can insulate exposed pipes in cold weather, cushion fragile items during a move, or reduce heat loss through windows when pressed into place. These aren't high-tech solutions, but in a pinch, practical simplicity wins. During economic hardship, the cost of basic packing and moving supplies becomes significant. People who've held on to cardboard and cushioning materials either save that expense or find themselves with something others are willing to trade for. Flatten your boxes and store them somewhere dry. Keep bubble wrap and foam organized and accessible. These materials cost you nothing to retain and deliver real utility when you actually need them. Number 5. Cooking oil and used cooking grease. Most people cook with oil and dispose of the leftover grease without a second thought. It goes down the drain or into the trash. But used cooking fat has a long history of practical applications that go well beyond the kitchen. Clean animal fat and plant-based oils can be filtered and repurposed as lamp fuel. Simple oil lamps have lit homes for thousands of years and can still do so. Grease can also be used to lubricate mechanical components, maintain metal tools and prevent rust, and condition leather goods to extend their life. In earlier centuries, animal fats were essential household commodities. They were used in cooking, lighting, lubrication, and basic skincare. The idea of throwing usable fat away would have been genuinely strange to previous generations. We've become so accustomed to easy access to petroleum-based lubricants and electric lighting that we've forgotten what our great-grandparents understood instinctively. Strain your used cooking oil through a fine cloth to remove food particles. Store it in sealed glass jars, which you're already saving from item number 1. Keep it in a cool, dark location. Over time, you'll accumulate a supply of filtered oil with multiple practical applications. If you want to go a step further, research the basics of soap making.
Combining animal fat or plant oil with lye through a process called saponification produces functional soap. It's a skill that was standard knowledge for most of human history. In a world where commercial soap becomes scarce or expensive, the ability to make your own from materials you already have is a meaningful advantage.
Number 6. Empty prescription bottles and medicine containers. When a prescription runs out, the bottle goes in the trash. It seems obvious, but those small containers are specifically designed to be durable, moisture-resistant, and airtight, which makes them far more useful than they appear. Prescription bottles are compact, lightweight, and sealed with child-proof caps that hold a tight closure. They're ideal for storing small items that need to stay dry and organized. You can use them to hold waterproof matches, fire-starting materials, fishing hooks, sewing needles, small screws or nails, seeds, or basic first aid supplies like pain relievers and antiseptic strips. In an emergency, keeping small, critical items properly protected and easy to locate matters more than people expect. When resources are limited, losing something small because it wasn't stored correctly can turn a manageable problem into a serious setback. Before you store anything in them, peel or scratch off the prescription label to protect your personal information. Wash the containers thoroughly and let them dry completely before use. They take up almost no space, but their utility when you actually need a small waterproof container is significant. Number 7. Paper and printed documents. In a digital world, physical paper feels redundant. We store everything on phones, computers, and cloud services. But digital access depends entirely on working power grids and functioning infrastructure. When those fail, all that stored information becomes inaccessible instantly. Printed maps, written instructions, medical reference guides, seed-saving notes, repair manuals, and hand-copied recipes all become genuinely valuable when screens go dark. Information itself becomes a resource. Paper also has basic practical uses. It can serve as insulation, fire-starting material, or a writing surface when no other option is available. In a prolonged crisis, the ability to communicate on paper, to leave written instructions, to record what you've learned and what you have, can be the difference between coordination and chaos. Start printing critical information and keeping physical copies in a waterproof binder or container. Maps of your local area, emergency contact numbers, basic first aid instructions, your household inventory. Don't assume your phone will always be available to access what you need. Do you keep physical backups of the information that matters most to your family? If not, why not? It costs almost nothing and takes very little time. Number 8. Worn or broken tools. Here's the one to pay close attention to. Most people have thrown away a broken tool at some point in the past few weeks. A handle that snapped, a blade that dulled beyond what seemed worth sharpening, a pair of pliers with a loose hinge. It felt like the obvious move, but that instinct is worth reconsidering. A broken tool is rarely completely useless. The metal components often retain significant value. A snapped shovel handle can serve as a walking staff, a structural support, or raw wood material. The blade itself, if it's still solid, can be reattached to a new handle or repurposed entirely. A dull knife isn't garbage, it's a blade that needs to be sharpened, which is a learnable skill that takes less time than most people think. In a world where new tools are either unavailable or prohibitively expensive, the ability to repair, modify, and repurpose existing ones becomes a significant advantage. Beyond that, basic metalworking and tool repair are skills that hold trade value. If you can fix something that someone else needs fixed, you have leverage in an exchange economy. Don't discard broken tools without first asking whether any component retains value. Separate the parts, store the metal components, learn basic sharpening and repair techniques. A collection of salvageable tool parts can support a wide range of repairs and projects when supply chains are strained. Number 9. Rope, cordage, and twine. Old rope gets thrown away constantly. Once it frays, loses tension, or outlives its original purpose, most people assume it's done.
But cordage is one of the most fundamentally versatile materials in any survival or preparedness context. Rope, cordage, and twine can be used to secure tarps, tie loads, build basic structures, hang things for drying, create animal traps, lash together improvised tools, and dozens of other things. In a crisis, the ability to tie, fasten, and secure things reliably is something you'll use constantly. Even frayed rope retains value. Individual strands can be separated and used for lighter-duty tasks. Multiple worn pieces can be braided together to create a stronger, more useful length. Old twine can serve as kindling or fire-starting material when twisted tightly. Think about what cordage you currently have in your home.
Extension cords that no longer work, old garden twine, baling cord, paracord remnants, kite string, even the drawstrings pulled from worn-out clothing, all of it has potential. Don't discard any rope, cord, or string without considering whether it still serves a purpose. Coil it neatly and store it somewhere accessible. The cumulative value of a well-organized cordage supply is greater than most people realize until they actually need it. Number 10. Rubber bands, twist ties, and small fasteners. Almost every purchase you make comes with some kind of securing mechanism attached. Rubber bands hold produce together. Twist ties seal bread bags. Zip ties bundle electronics packaging. And within seconds of unpacking whatever you bought, every one of those fasteners goes in the trash. These items are small, but their usefulness is disproportionate to their size. Rubber bands can reseal opened packages, bundle loose items, create grip on smooth surfaces, or act as components in simple traps or tools. Twist ties can patch fencing gaps, secure tarps in wind, organize tangled cables, or provide quick temporary fixes for things that have come loose. In an emergency, speed and flexibility matter enormously. The ability to secure or fasten something without needing a hardware store run gives you options when options are scarce. Small, simple fasteners are often exactly what separates a manageable situation from a frustrating one. Keep a dedicated container for these items. Drop every rubber band, twist tie, zip tie, and spare fastener into it. Within a few months, you'll have a meaningful collection that cost you nothing and required no extra effort to accumulate. Number 11. Candle stubs and leftover wax. When a candle burns down to its last inch, most people toss the remainder without a second thought. It looks used up. It isn't. That remaining wax can be melted down and poured into a new container with a fresh wick, producing a fully functional candle from what looked like scraps. You can combine stubs of different colors and scents if aesthetics matter to you, or simply focus on function. Wax also extends fire-starting capability. Saturating cotton or natural tinder material with melted wax makes it burn longer and more reliably. In cold, wet conditions where fire starting is difficult, this can be a critical advantage. Beyond lighting and fire starting, wax has practical maintenance applications. Rubbing it along a sticky zipper helps it move smoothly. Applying it to canvas or leather provides light waterproofing. Using it to lubricate drawers, windows, or sliding mechanisms is a simple fix that works reliably. If electricity becomes unreliable or too costly, candles shift from decorative to essential. Knowing how to remake them from accumulated scraps means you're not fully dependent on purchasing new ones. Collect every candle stub in a container. Once you've built up enough material, melt it down and remold it. The effort is minimal. The result is a renewable supply of light from material you are going to throw away. Number 12. Aluminum foil and aluminum containers. After one use, aluminum foil typically gets wadded up and discarded. But if it isn't heavily contaminated with food residue or badly torn, it can be rinsed gently, smoothed out, and reused multiple times. It still covers food, lines baking surfaces, and wraps items just as effectively as it did the first time. Beyond kitchen reuse, aluminum has genuine survival applications. Foil can be shaped into improvised bowls or cups when you need a container quickly.
Positioned behind a fire, it reflects heat toward a shelter or seating area, helping retain warmth more efficiently. In a signaling context, a sheet of shiny foil can catch sunlight and attract attention from a distance. Aluminum cans offer similar versatility. With basic tools, they can be cut and reshaped into small cooking pots, scoops, makeshift stoves, or simple tools. In parts of the world experiencing economic strain, entire small-scale operations have formed around collecting and repurposing aluminum. It's a material that's lightweight, strong, corrosion-resistant, and highly adaptable. Before you throw foil away after a single use, ask whether it's actually done. Before an aluminum can goes in the recycling bin, consider whether it has a practical second life. The habit of pausing before discarding takes almost no effort and adds up to a meaningful reserve over time. Number 13. Cooking and cleaning vinegar. White vinegar is one of the most undervalued household substances most people own. And yet, when a large bottle runs low, most people replace it without ever thinking about what they can do with what's left or why they should keep more of it on hand. Vinegar is a natural disinfectant with moderate antimicrobial properties.
It can clean surfaces, remove mineral deposits from pipes and fixtures, act as a fabric softener substitute, and extend the life of cut flowers. Mixed with water, it serves as an effective general-purpose cleaner for most household surfaces. In a food preservation context, vinegar is essential. Pickling vegetables in a vinegar brine can extend their usable life by months, sometimes longer. This technique has kept food available through long winters and supply shortages throughout human history. Fermented and pickled foods also support gut health, which matters significantly during times of limited dietary variety. A supply of white vinegar stores well. It doesn't expire in any meaningful way under normal storage conditions. Keeping several gallons on hand costs very little and provides a multi-purpose resource that covers cleaning, preservation, and basic antimicrobial needs. If commercial cleaning products become expensive or unavailable, vinegar becomes a primary substitute rather than an afterthought. What other common household items are you discarding that might serve a similar multi-purpose function? It's worth taking a closer look at your pantry and your trash. Number 14. Worn-out shoes and boots. When a pair of shoes wears out, most people toss them without hesitation. The assumption is that once footwear falls apart, it has nothing left to offer. But that assumption overlooks everything the shoe is actually made of. The rubber sole can be cut into non-slip pads, improvised gaskets, or patch material for other gear. Leather from old boots can be trimmed and repurposed for reinforcement patches, handle grips, or small DIY repairs. The laces are usable cordage, adding to the collection we discussed in number 9. Even the insoles can serve as padding or insulation material in a pinch. In a long-term crisis, foot health becomes critically important. If you're walking more and driving less, your shoes wear down faster. If supply chains are disrupted, replacing them may be difficult or expensive. Having salvaged materials available to patch and reinforce your current footwear could extend its useful life by months or longer. Shoe repair also becomes a tradable skill in an exchange economy. If you know how to resole a boot or patch a heel using salvaged materials, that's something other people will pay for. Practical skills often carry more real-world value than cash during periods of economic instability. When a pair of shoes finally gives out, take them apart before throwing anything away. Separate the usable components. Store them with intention. Learn the basics of footwear repair. In a genuine crisis, your ability to keep moving depends directly on the condition of your feet. Number 15. Seeds from everyday produce. Every time you slice open a tomato, scoop out a pepper, or core an apple, seeds go in the trash or the compost. Most people have no particular reason to keep them because grocery stores are reliable and produce is accessible. But that calculation changes the moment food supply becomes uncertain. Seeds are the foundation of food production.
A single tomato contains dozens of seeds. Each of those seeds, under the right conditions, can produce a plant that yields dozens more tomatoes. The multiplication factor is extraordinary when you consider what a small amount of starting material can generate over a single growing season. Seed saving is a skill that sustained human civilization for thousands of years before industrialized agriculture made it feel unnecessary. Heirloom vegetables, in particular, produce seeds that reliably grow true to the parent plant, meaning you can save seeds from one season and plant them the next without loss of quality. That cycle of production and replanting is self-sustaining in a way that purchasing seedlings every spring simply isn't. The process of saving seeds correctly is learnable and straightforward. Different vegetables require different techniques, but the basics, cleaning, drying thoroughly, and storing in a cool, dark, dry location, apply broadly. Glass jars, which you're already saving, are ideal for seed storage. Start saving seeds from any produce that comes through your kitchen. Focus first on vegetables you eat regularly and that do well in your climate. Learn which plants produce seeds that save reliably. Over time, you build a seed library that represents genuine food security, something no supply chain disruption can take from you. Now step back and look at what we've covered. 15 categories of items that most households discard regularly. Glass jars, fabric scraps, used batteries, cardboard, cooking grease, prescription bottles, paper, broken tools, rope and cord, small fasteners, candle stubs, aluminum, vinegar, worn shoes, and seeds. None of these cost anything to keep. All of them carry real utility in an emergency.
The families who make it through serious economic disruptions aren't always the ones with the most money. They're the ones who adapted before the situation forced them to. Resourcefulness begins with the decision to see value where others see waste. This isn't about filling your home with junk. It's about a deliberate, organized shift in how you evaluate what you throw away. Choose one category from this list, the one that fits your situation most naturally, and start there. Save it, sort it, and gradually build a reserve while these materials are still freely available and cost you nothing to keep. Because once a crisis is already underway, what you've already thrown away is gone. You won't get a second chance to recover it. If this changed the way you see the things in your trash, do something simple right now. Hit like on this video and share it with one person who would benefit from thinking about these things. And if you want to keep building on this kind of practical knowledge, make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Leave a comment below and tell us which of these 15 items you're going to start saving first. We read every single one.